What's up, everybody? It's your boy Adam, chilling on the Spring Creek Greenway. It is Memorial Day, and I shouldn't be telling you what day it is because I'm getting a lot more hate from people who are sick of the fact that I'm not giving the up-to-the-minute update on the day. I'm not releasing the video on the day I record it, but here we go. But once again, let me check. I'm gonna look in my pockets. Let me check in my backpack over here. Hold on a second. Let me see what I got in here. Let's go down in there. Let's see underneath here. Hold on, let me see. Let's see what I got in here. Look in there. No, I don't got any fucks to give about it. So I checked, but once again, I don't. So let me see here. I love it. My favorite is when people have to announce to the channel that they're going to stop watching the videos. Like, that's my favorite. Like, because my life hangs on whether or not you are going to show up to watch my video today. And just knowing that this will be the last video that you watch, it truly breaks my heart. And it just makes me want to give up and just stop doing these videos. It truly does make me want to stop. It's really funny that the fact that I'm talking about something that's happening today, but you're not going to hear about it for a couple of weeks. Like, it really matters that it wasn't today. Like that, it's truly that important that, like, wow. I mean, I get it when it's like breaking news and the news people are standing in front of the school where a bunch of kids got shot, but it's like the day after and they're like, we're live in front of the school where a bunch of kids got shot yesterday. Well, why weren't you live when the kids were getting shot? Like, why didn't you hurry your ass up and get over there? Like, that's when we give a shit whether you're live or not. You could have just been sitting at the desk like Ron Burgundy, reading from the teleprompter at this point. But no, we're live in front of the building where some shit happened yesterday. Like, that's when I would get irritated about why do they have the need to go do a live report from a building or a place where whatever it was that happened yesterday. Like, just tell us at this point. You don't got to be there. You don't got to do a live report from the place where nothing's happening now. But this isn't like live breaking news. I mean, for real? But that was a comment that I read before I sat down here on the bench to chill. Today was another interesting day of cycling. I feel like, I'm telling you, I'm pretty much at the 2,000 mile mark on cycling. I've already crossed the 2,000 mile barrier. And there's no way that I'm under 2,000 miles on the bicycle alone. Because I had done I think it was 55 miles of walking and the rest of it was bicycling. And this is my second bike ride, second or third bike ride since I came up with that number. And probably my second bike ride. And I mean, that's 80 miles right there. So I'm already over 2,000 miles. And I'm telling you, God, I think he's using the weather to just tell me to trust him. Because this has happened so many times. I rode into work today. The weather was nice. It was a little muggy, but it wasn't too ridiculously hot or nothing. But I was pretty sweaty. I was a lot sweatier then than I am now. Coming in this morning, I don't know, it was probably 85 at least. I don't remember. But it was, I would say, it was partly sunny, a little bit of clouds and sun. And then I get to the bakery. There's nothing open for food. Chick-fil-A's closed. I'm like, oh, forgot it's a holiday today. And so I ended up eating a cake for breakfast, but I wanted protein. You know, when I ride my bike 20 miles in, my body's craving some protein, some meat. And that wasn't happening this morning. So the only thing I could put in was carbs and sugar. And I mean, it got me through till lunch. But about half an hour after I get to work, torrential downpour, thunderstorms, wind, like just crazy weather. And it really wasn't even supposed to rain according to the weather reports that I had checked yesterday and last night around 10 o'clock. Wasn't really calling for rain. And so today, I was like, well, whatever. So I just told everybody at the bakery, I said, look, because it was raining all day. And they're like, you're going to have to ride home in the rain. I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, yeah, well, look outside. I go, it's going to be bright and sunny when I leave today because Jesus doesn't want me to ride in the rain. And I'm like, I was just saying it all day long. I'm like, you know, oh man, I forget how the song goes, but something about Jesus really loves me so. He made the rain stop to tell me so, or something like that. Or Jesus loves me, this I know. He made the rain stop to tell me so. And I'm like just making comments all day about it. And I mean, it was a torrential downpour. I took a lunch break around 1 o'clock and there was a little bit of a break in the rain and Five Guys was open. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get me a burger for lunch today. I got to get some protein. I got to get something in me. So I went over there and grabbed a cheeseburger. And while I was eating my burger, it started again with the downpour. But I'm like, you know, it'll probably let up when I have to walk back across the parking lot to go back to work. And sure enough, it let up just enough so that I didn't get drenched on my way back. But then it started downpouring again, and it was just pouring buckets. Thunderstorms, lightning, all of it. And I just kept saying, I'm like, you watch, it'll be sunny when I leave. And about half hour, 45 minutes before I left, the sun came out. And by the time I left, the roads are dry, the parking lot was dry, my bicycle seat was dry, the handlebar tape was dry, everything was dry. And the bike ride home today has been pretty pleasant. We were all kind of predicting that after the sun comes back out, it's going to be all muggy and steamy and just feel like a jungle out here, but no, it's actually pretty pleasant. Saturday was much worse in terms of the heat and humidity. It was a scorcher on Saturday when I recorded the video from the other bench, and you saw I was slimy the whole time I was recording a video. And when I got back on my bicycle, it was hot. I only had I'm probably from that bench to the house, probably 4 or 5 miles at the most. I don't know exactly, but we're talking like 4 or 5 miles. And about 3 miles in, about 2 miles from my house, I had to stop and get some Gatorade because my body was like the electrolytes, baby. You know, it's got what bikers crave. Gatorade's got it, the electrolytes. When you sweat at the level I was sweating on Saturday, your salts, like your body will just leach out the salts. And it's why you get the salt stains all over your shirt. And just had some guy walking by. Interrupted my train of thought. But when you sweat like crazy when it's hot outside, and you know you've got your shirt, if it dries out, you'll see that it looks like salt flats all over your shirt is just covered in salt stains. And when it's like that, your body will eventually just it'll just like shut down, and it happens. They call it hitting the wall when you're an athlete. Whether you're running or cycling or, whatever it is that you're doing, if your body starts to lose the salts, your electrolytes, it hits you it's like getting hit with a baseball bat in the face. It'll stop you cold. And I was on my way, and there was a bit of a headwind, and I get to this one intersection, and I'm like, I could just start feeling, and I'm 18 miles into my 20-mile ride, and I'm like, if I go the rest of this 2 miles without water, because my water bottle was empty, but especially, like, if I do that, if I go the next 2 miles, I'm going to get into my house, and I'm going to feel like death. But if I stop here and I chug a Gatorade, I'm going to feel fine. I'm not going to feel like anything's wrong. And sure enough, I drank that Gatorade. I bought 2, they always, at the gas stations, they always got like a 2 for $5 on Gatorade. So I bought 2 bottles of Gatorade because one would cost like $4, 2 is $5. So I bought 1 bottle. I chugged the first bottle, and then I poured the other bottle into my water bottle. And I drank a couple of sips on the way home, but really I drank that when I got home. And I felt fine. Like, it hits, you can fix it just as fast as it hits you. When you hit that wall, if it's the electrolyte crash from riding on it. Now, it doesn't really happen too much on cold days or colder weather or, even moderate weather, 60s or low 70s, but 75 and above, the hotter it is, the quicker it'll happen. And it's just a matter of take care of yourself. I need to get electrolyte tablets. They can make little tiny pills. There's lots of different forms of electrolyte powders, tablets, different ways that you can carry that with you when you're biking or out exercising. Always keep that stuff in your backpack. I would take my son out on backpacking trips, and when I'd see my son starting to crash, I'd make him. I'd be like, take this electrolyte tablet, and it's not bad. A couple of e-bikes. Wouldn't be bad to have, but see, the thing with an e-bike like that, those are like the motorcycle type. Those things weigh like 150 pounds, 160 pounds. And when that battery dies, you're fucked. You ain't going nowhere. I don't even think those had pedals. I don't know what brand those were, but those didn't even have pedals. They had pegs. I've seen a couple of specialized turbo e-bikes, which are kind of like a city bike, a hybrid style bicycle, e-bike though, pedal assisted, so you have to be pedaling it for the motor to kick in. You can't just twist the throttle and go. You have to be pedaling, but you can put very little effort into the pedals to go about 30 miles an hour. And you'll get about a 60-mile range on the eco mode for the battery. If you crank the power all the way up, you might get a 20-mile range. So for me, if I got one of those and put it on eco mode, I could zip back and forth to the bakery at about 25, 30 miles an hour average speed, and it would probably cut my time to travel down by a good amount. 10 miles an hour faster. It would be 10 miles an hour faster both ways. So it would get me, I'd say 45 minutes to an hour to get home versus an hour to an hour and a half. And to drive from where I live is about half an hour drive. So on an e-bike like that, 45 minutes is only 15 minutes slower than driving. But those, the Specialized Turbo, I've seen 2 of them show up on Facebook Marketplace for about $1,200 used. I think they're about $4,000 new. The only problem that you might have with those is the battery. Does the battery still hold a full charge? And when the battery goes dead, it's like $500 to $1,000 for a new battery. And you know, there could be other things to go wrong, but the nice thing about that, it weighs about 50, 60 pounds. So even if the battery dies on your way home or on your way to someplace, if you got a dead battery, you can still pedal and you can still get to where you have to go. It's still, it's a bicycle. You know, my Red Rocket bike that you see me, my Cannondale that I ride, I can make that bicycle weigh 50, 60 pounds, loading it up to go on a, you know, long distance multi-day bike ride, depending on what kind of pack I'm going to take with me in terms of cooking gear and camping gear and stuff like that. All right. Somebody rode by on a fairly expensive bike, but he didn't look like, he wasn't all dressed up like Lance Armstrong and whatnot with the span. He looked kind of normal like me. He's probably at least a $3,000 bike, 3 to 5, 3 to 6, somewhere in there. I don't know. It's a nice bike, but with the e-bike, yeah, you know, $1,200 would get me something like that. I don't want an e-bike that weighs 150 pounds, and then if something happens, I gotta figure out how to get home on this freaking thing. What are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do? Walk with a 150 pound bike by your side? I don't know what I would do. But a regular bicycle that happens to be electric to some extent, where I could fly down down these roads and bike paths at like 25, 30 miles an hour instead of 15, 20, and save myself 40 minutes on a bike ride like this, that would be a game changer. But if I'm going to put that kind of money into, I'm not going to put that kind of money into a bike when I could put it towards getting a car. So, speaking of car, there's a guy in the comments section who keeps reaching out to me about, he's got a Honda Civic that he's going to donate to charity unless I want to grab it off of him. And I said, yeah, but he told me to go, you know, if you're watching this video, you told me to reach out to you through your YouTube handle, but you don't have any contact information there. So I've responded to the comments that you've left, but that's all I can do. And I know you said put a word out on the video. So this video will be out within the next week. You know, unfortunately, I would like to make all the people that hate watching these delayed videos, and you know, I'd like to just continue making them mad, but I'm just putting these videos on a delay because of this douchebag landlord that I'm dealing with right now. And I don't know if he watches these. I don't think he does, but I'm not announcing my up-to-the-minute plans until I get the hell out of this apartment. I was going to tell him yesterday that I planned on moving at the end of the month. And then I came to the conclusion at some point during the day, I'm like, you know, what I really need today is a peaceful day. Peaceful, no drama, quiet, restful. I don't need to be dealing with whatever backlash or attitude, or I don't know what the guy's going to do. He's got a hint of instability going on with him. And I've just, the way he's not, I don't have the confidence that it's the right move to tell him that I'm moving before I move. I mean, I'm literally probably just going to make the announcement on Saturday when I show up with the U-Haul and start loading it up. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm moving out. Good luck. And whatever he thinks he's going to do from there, good luck to you, because keeping a tenant without hot water for 3 months and then trying to jack up the rent in the middle of a lease term, no judge is going to look at that and say anything but, yeah, you did the right thing. And talking about me, I did the right thing by moving out of there. Like, he has terminated the lease himself, is what I'm getting at. Because I had no intention of leaving before the 6 months was up. And in fact, if he had just fixed the hot water and left me the fuck alone, I probably would have stayed. And if he had just waited until the end of the lease or a month before the lease is up to say, hey, I'm going to raise the rent at the end of the 6 months, at least it would have given me like some, I would have been a little bit more pliable. But this situation's not going to fly. And so, I mean, this motherfucker did it to himself, and he's just a scam artist. I've shared with you, he has a criminal record the length of my arm. And that's just what I was able to find here in Houston. Supposedly he's done a bunch of shit in Florida, and he was a fugitive here in Texas from, I don't know. Like, there's another rap sheet in Florida if I can figure out where he was, and I did figure it out. I did at one point know, but I stopped giving a shit. And so I think I have it in my notes, but I don't really care. All I really want to do is get away from this guy and get away from this place and move on and not think about it again. It's not worth continuing. If I were to sue this guy or do things to, if I were to just continue this crusade against him after I move out, it's only going to keep this stress in my world. And I just don't need it. I don't need this in my world anymore. And so that's my plan, is to get rid of this guy, walk away from it, never look back. But if he decides that he's going to pursue fucking around, then he's gonna also be pursuing finding the fuck out, because I've got a stack of shit I can do to make him wish he'd never crossed my path. But let's just walk away from this and be done with it, is my thought right now. Yeah, the light is shifting a little bit. I really did want to sit here because of the backlight, but it's in the shade. But now the sun is changing positions, and I'm not really in the shade anymore. Oh well, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here too much longer. I do want to get back to the crib, but it is nicer today. It's, the bugs aren't bad. The rain actually cooled the temperature down just a little bit. I don't know what it is. Feels like high 80s, but there's a nice chill to the breeze, and my shirt isn't as wet and sweaty and funky as it was. Even my shirt this morning probably smells like it's in my backpack now, and that probably smells like the inside of a hockey glove after the Stanley Cup playoffs are over. But I'm not feeling too bad today. I'm probably not even going to stop, and I'm not even done with my water yet today, so hold on. All right, I got a couple more minutes, but I'm really gonna get moving here in a minute. It's nice and chill today. The traffic was very light, being Memorial Day and all. But on the way home today, a couple of dickbags had to get into their horn honking road rage. It really gets on my nerves when you've got an entire road to go around me, and I'm either on the shoulder or I am as far to the right in the right-hand lane as I can be, because there's no shoulder at all. But when you've got a whole left lane on top of most of the right lane to get around me, and you got to throw a fucking road rage temper tantrum as you go by, oh my God, if it's the kind of shit that you see in like YouTube videos. If I was driving a vehicle, I'd want to swerve into you and just ram you off the road. Because I get, when you're on the bicycle, the adrenaline and you have a lot more aggression when I'm out on the road on the bicycle. All right. Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up here in a couple minutes, but as the joggers and the people go by, I just, I don't want to be, as far as anybody knows, I'm FaceTiming with my homies or whatever. You're all my homies. Some of you, most of you, except for the trolls. But yeah, I do think, that was something that, where did I hear? Oh, I was watching somebody's live stream replay yesterday. And of course, there were a bunch of trolls that were angry at whatever that person said or didn't say or did or didn't do or whatever. Because every single person who does a YouTube channel is going to have trolls and people throwing shade at you, especially if you're doing a live stream. And this person was like, I love it when you people have to make this big announcement that you're going to stop watching the channel. Like, why do you feel compelled to make sure that everybody else who's watching the video knows that you're not happy and you're going to leave and you're not going to watch this anymore? Like, if you don't want to watch it, just go. Like, just fucking leave. Like, you got to make some big announcement. Like, it's like everybody is hanging on your, oh my God, is he going to leave? I don't know. He said he was going to leave. Oh, I hope he doesn't leave. I don't know what I'm going to do if this guy leaves and doesn't come back to watch the channel again. I know, man. I know, it's crazy, right? The only reason I was here is because he came to watch. But now if he doesn't want to watch, I don't know if I want to watch anymore. I know. It's crazy. I'm only here because that guy came. And now he says he's going to leave. And I'm torn. Should I leave too? Or should I stay? I don't know. Maybe it depends on whether I like the videos or not. It's just like, people got to make this big fucking announcement. I'm leaving. It's like when you go, it's like somebody paid $2,000 to go see a Taylor Swift concert and you don't like the way that she dances or the fact that she's got a flat ass and she doesn't really look good in her leotards or whatever she's wearing on stage, and you're just like, you know what? I'm not going to stick around for this. I'm leaving. And you make this big announcement like you expect everybody in the stadium to turn and look at you. And like, what? Do you want them to all beg you to not leave? Or do you want Taylor Swift to stop the concert and say, please don't leave, sir? I'll get a butt lift. I'll stop wearing these goofy leotards every time I make a costume change. Whatever it takes. I'll stop lip syncing half of my songs. I'll dump the football player. I'll go find another ex-boyfriend to sing a song about. I'll do whatever it takes. Just don't leave. Please don't leave. Don't leave. I don't know what I'll do without you. And then she'll write a song about you because she misses you and she's upset that you left the concert after paying $2,000 for your ticket. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to have to do some soul searching. So in the meantime, I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to get back on my bike and head on to the tiny heezy, getting ready to get the hell out of there. I got to go back to the bakery tomorrow, do this bike ride. I'm hoping that it doesn't rain. God's been so good to me. I've put in 2,000 miles on my bicycle since January 1st, and I've gotten wet like one time. I got sprinkled on once on the ride home, but I really didn't get wet. I'm more wet now than I got during that rain. And another time it rained in the morning, but it stopped about 20 minutes later. And by the time I got to work, I really wasn't that wet. And then there was a time a couple of weeks ago, it started raining while I was here on this trail, and I pulled over under a tree because it was still dry under the tree. It wasn't raining hard enough yet. There was still some shelter under a tree. And I pulled out, I put my backpack cover on, put my raincoat on, because it was starting to come down pretty hard. And then as soon as I got back on the bike and went like a couple hundred feet, the rain just stopped. And I ended up getting soaked because I was sweating so much under my raincoat that doesn't breathe. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this up. And I think we'll talk again later. In terms of before I go, as I wrap up this week and I get to the move and I get moving and all that stuff, I don't know if I'm going to feel like doing much after I move on Saturday, because moving sucks and it's going to be a lot of energy. I'm going to spend a lot of energy on that, especially if I have to do it all by myself. That's going to be tough. And so what I'm doing is I'm queuing up these videos. And I've got from I think as of yesterday, I'm queued up till the 31st, where there's a video ready to go, so that even if I do absolutely nothing, a video will show up every day at the same time. But now every video that I upload and add, I'm just going to double them up. So the next video that I post, I'll put the launch date on as the 31st. And then if I put up another video, I'll backdate. I'll get to the point where every day between now and when I move, between now and the 1st of the month, I'll have 2 videos each day. And then I'll get to the point where I upload some more and I'll launch 3 videos each day. And I'll just keep posting these videos until I basically launch all the videos that I've recorded. And at some point, I'll be back in sync with my current timeline, so that all you people that are threatening to leave the channel because I'm not doing what you want me to do, you might have a reason to stick around, or you might get mad at something else that I did wrong, and then you'll threaten me and tell me that you're going to stop watching the videos again. But all I'm going to say before I leave is, if this is something you want to do, and you want to do a YouTube channel and you want to put videos out there and do your thing, don't worry about what other people think. Like, that is the thing that will stop you from doing that is one of the biggest things that will stop you in life from doing what you want to do. Is when you start worrying about what other people think, that's when you start to talk yourself out of what you want to do. That's one of the best ways to talk yourself out of doing whatever it is. And the best thing to do is to just fuck it, do it. Who cares what other people think? Because some people are going to like it, some people aren't. That's a fact. It doesn't matter what you do. You could have the best restaurant in town. You could have... You could make a movie that wins an Academy, or that wins the Oscar for the best picture, and everybody loves this movie, but there's going to be a whole bunch of people that hate it. Rotten Tomatoes, they're going to insult your movie. You're not going to have 100% perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes no matter what you do. Somebody's going to throw a tomato at it. I don't remember how the rating system works on there, but I think that, Rotten Tomatoes, that's what you throw at the screen when you don't like the movie. And I don't know, do you like get a bowl of popcorn when you do? I don't know how that system works, but you're never going to have a perfect score. And so, like I said, you could have the best restaurant in town, someone's going to hate it. You could sell products on Amazon. Someone's going to give you a 1-star review on Amazon because they ordered a t-shirt from you and they ordered the wrong size, but you sent them the size they ordered, but they're going to get mad that it didn't fit them. And then they're going to admit, well, I normally wear an XL, but I ordered a small. And then they're going to be mad that the small doesn't fit them. And there's nothing you can do about it. So just do what you got to do, and we'll talk later. Peace. Oh, I'm so glad I'm getting out of this place. I'm done with my bike ride. It was actually a pleasant ride home from the park. The whole ride was pretty chill today. Even with stopping at the park for a while, I'm home by 7 o'clock. I really don't got much. I don't even know what I'm gonna eat, but I'm gonna eat a little something something, and then I'm just gonna get out of here and go to bed. Yeah, I cannot wait to get out of here. The newest situation that I'm facing, I guess it's a weird, like, the newest thing about this tiny shithole, there's a bad smell in here now. And I've been like this morning, I noticed it yesterday, and I thought it was the garbage can over in the back corner. Thought maybe I threw something in there and it needs to go out to the trash can outside because it's starting to stink the place up. So I'm like, this morning I could smell it and it was worse, and I'm like, what is that? And it's coming from that back area back there. And so I'm like, okay, fine. I this morning before I left, I took the trash out. The trash can wasn't even half full, but I'm like, I'm smelling inside the trash can and I'm not smelling the smell. But I'm like, just in case, take that out. And I'm like, okay, fine, we'll see what happens. I come home. As soon as I walk in the place and I start walking toward the back, I'm like, yo, the smell is there again. And I'm trying to figure out, what is this? It's my dirty clothes bag. I pick up my dirty clothes bag. I'm sniffing it. It's not that. My blanket. I'm like, do I need to wash? I'm going to wash some of this stuff. Like the cover to my my memory foam pad. That needs to be washed. That needs to be washed like early in the morning on Wednesday, so that it'll have time to dry. Because I'm not going to put that in the dryer. I think that'll ruin it. I'm going to wash it, and then I'm just going to lay it out to dry here. I'm going to hang it up in the shower area and just let it dry in the hanging up in here with the air conditioner set on dry mode so that everything kind of dries out. And then I'm going to wash this blanket and just anything that I'm not going to be able to wash easily when I move. I'm going to make sure that it's all good to go before I move. But this smell is something else. And the only thing I can think of, it's got the same hint of there might be a dead animal underneath this tiny house. Because there's a whole bunch of, this thing is up on blocks of some kind. It's up above the ground. It's on cinder blocks or something. That it's got some sort of That's the foundation of this thing. It's lifted up off the ground. So there's space underneath. And if an animal died under there, that that seems to be what the smell is. Because it's reminiscent of when I lived at my house out in Amish country, out in the woods. I had a ceiling in the basement. Mice would get up there, and there wasn't anything I could do about it. And you could listen to squirrels, freaking. I swear to God, there may have been a raccoon up there at one point. I don't even know. This fucking house had so many animal issues. You couldn't keep the fucking animals out of this house, no matter how hard you tried. Most of the time, you could get them out without, you know, you could set traps, or you could just, give them a reason to leave or whatever. You could get rid of them. But when they would get up in the ceiling of the basement, it was like a plaster. Like there was no way it wasn't like I could remove some ceiling tiles and go up there and like do things and deal with the problem. The only way I could deal with them when they were up in there was I could throw some poison up in that area, like rat poison, mouse bait, that kind of stuff. I could just toss it up in there. I would just, any place that I could reach up in there and kind of get in that region, I'd just be like whoosh with some, like, I'd just take a bunch of decon and rat poison and just toss it up in there and be like, whatever at this point. But the problem is, if that's how you deal with the pest, it'll take them out. They'll go after that. They'll eat that thing. I'd put like bait blocks, like the big chunky ones up, and I just throw them up in there. And because there were a couple of places I could get things up in there, but I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't set traps and then come and get the traps later. And but I could throw bait blocks and different things up in there to, if anything's gonna get up in there and be hungry. But the thing is, when you do that, then the animal dies up in there, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. And so if you've ever had a mouse or a squirrel or a chipmunk or something die inside your walls, it'll stink up your place for days. It'll be, at some point it'll get nasty and you won't even want to be in there, and you'll be like, oh my God, it smells like a rotting corpse. And then the smell goes away after a certain number of days, and at that point, the only way that's ever going to come back to haunt you is if you do a demo and you decide to remodel the basement, and you do a demo and you're pulling all that plaster down from the ceiling. You got to watch out. There's going to be some skeletons coming down with it. So, but it's just, it's part of having a house. Shit happens. That house was nothing but fucking animals and all kinds. If it wasn't one, you get rid of one thing and another thing would show up, and then you get rid of that problem and another one would show up, and it was just nonstop. It was a nonstop battle with nature. If there were no human beings at that house to control the situation and to battle back against nature, nature would take that house away in less than 10 years. Less than 10 years, that house would be uninhabitable. It would be just a collapsed heap on the ground. It wouldn't even be a house anymore. Wouldn't even take 10 years for nature to take that place back. Because it's a nonstop battle. Nonstop battle. You wouldn't even, 5 years without anybody living in it or taking care of it, you wouldn't even know there was a house there. Nature would just cover that thing that fast. Some of the landscaping things that I did when I was there, some of the overgrowth that I pulled back and took care of while I was there, was insane. Absolutely insane. The speed at which it can happen is mind-blowing. But It all worked out. And, but yeah, every now and then, once every other year or so, like an animal would die up in that fucking ceiling, and the man cave would just be off limits for a few days. It would be too much. You burn incense, Febreze, every air fresheners. Doesn't matter what you do. There's an underlying, and I'm telling you, that's what happened here. There's somewhere there's a dead animal somewhere around here, and it's creeping in. It's either inside the wall or it's under this building, and that's what or something's wrong with the plumbing, because that wouldn't surprise me, but it doesn't have that. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. But the plumbing here is terrible. There's so many. I've seen so many problems with the plumbing here, and just this whole fucking house. This tiny house is an absolute disaster. It's an absolute disaster. I don't. This fucking guy, he has got it. He is the biggest fucking retard I've ever seen, in terms of, like, this thing's a fucking disaster. I would do a better job building a cabin like this on my own without any help and without actually knowing how to do any of this shit. I would do a better job than this guy has. If I were to do this myself, because I was going to do it, I was about to buy 9 acres in Tennessee. 10 acres. I looked at a 9-acre plot probably 2 weeks before I was arrested. And when I got home, someone had bought it out from under me. Like 2 days after I looked at it, it was gone. And I was like, what the fuck? But he may have had somebody on the hook for it, but he wanted to see if I would do it. And when I was down there, all it would have taken was a couple $100 and a handshake, and it would have been a done deal. To get the process started. And in hindsight's always 2020. If I had done that, I would have never went to prison, because my focus would have been on that. I was with my ex. We toured the property together. But this was me. This was my project. This was something I wanted to do. It just happened to be that her daughter lived an hour away from the property, and I was already scheduled. I was already planning on coming to look at this guy's properties 2 years before I did. And I'd been talking to him, and I'd traveled through there many, many times. I just never hooked up with the guy. And he had lots and lots of properties that he was parceling out, doing the owner finance land deal. But it was a good deal. It was way affordable. Would have only cost me like $200 to $300 a month to have this 9 acres of land, and I forget how many years to pay it off. But I could have paid it off in balloon payments as well. I could have paid $1,000 a month and had it paid off in no time. And the guy, he was going to do all the excavating, and basically, like, there was some excavation work that this plot needed. We had kind of like walked around the property, and I threw a plan at him. I'm like, yeah, I need to be able to park my vehicle reasonably far in, and this one spot here looks like a good spot to set up a cabin, so I'd need this to be cleared out. I'm like, and he was like, yeah, we can put a culvert in, we can throw down stone, we can basically grade you out a driveway, we can get you all set up so that you can get your vehicle back here, and then you can do whatever you want from there. And then I was just going to be like, look, I'm not going to bring in the heavy machinery. I'm going to do it all by hand. And painstakingly, like, over a slow period of time. This is like a nature thing for me. You know what I mean? I'm going to treat it like a camp. But It was 9 acres, I just didn't want to do it that day. I'm like, yeah, let me go home because I had a 2-day drive ahead of me. And I'm like, because we were still doing some cool stuff and checking this and that out. And we weren't in a hurry to go home. We still wanted to take a leisurely trip home. And I said, yeah, let me get back to you on that. And when I got home from the trip, the dude had already sold the plot that I just looked at. And I'm like, fuck, man. And he had tons of other land. He had tons more. But now I'm like, man, I'm not going to buy it sight unseen. And I did look at, I took a tour of the whole area so I would have a better idea of what's what. But he had some unicorns down there. He had this one that was like, I would have done it sight unseen. This one spot he had, the creek running through the property was so deep that it would be up to your neck. And there were like these big giant rocks to jump off of, and it was like a paradise. It was freaking awesome. Absolutely no possibility of getting utilities back there. So it would be a complete off-grid, whatever the hell you build back there, whatever you do back there, you're going to need a 4-wheel drive to get back there. And you're going to need, whatever you do, it's going to be on you. There's no way you're getting any utilities or wires or cables or electric or any of that back there. But it was doable. And that was a steal. Someone snagged that right up. But this was actually like you could get electric run to it. And so you could do like a half off grid kind of a situation. You could ease off of the grid if you wanted to down at a place like that. You could set up a camp. But with 9 acres, you could have like a cabin up at the front of the property. But then you could put stuff all the way at the back of the 9 acres. And it's pretty far back. And you could have a lot of stuff going on there that nobody would ever know is back there, is all I'm saying. You could have a cabin up front, but you could have a pathway going back to some stuff back in the woods. And you could do whatever the hell you want back there. No zoning, nobody telling you what you can and can't build, all that kind of stuff. But in hindsight, if I had shaken the guy's hand and wrote him a check or whatever to get the process started, I would have been so focused and so mentally zoned in on that project that I wouldn't have been fucking around on the internet all pissed off about Donald Trump's house being raided and just the sick and tired of the whole Joe Biden shit parade that had been going on and ruining all of our fucking lives for so long. I just had enough that week. There was a lot of other stuff. I had gone on a 3-day hike with my son. I was worn out. I was tired. I just started running my fucking mouth because I had enough. I was just like, I'm so sick and tired. I just got done getting fired for not taking that fucking shot and struggling to get back on my feet after that. And now, this fucking creepy old dementia-riddled hair-sniffing child molester pretending to be president is trying to fuck us again and again and again and again and again, and I'm finally done. I just snapped. And I said a bunch of dumb shit. But, I figured, if the liberals can run around burning down cities and starting riots and threatening whoever they want and saying whatever the fuck they want and doing whatever they want, oh yeah, like the FBI is going to show up at my house because I said something stupid on Twitter or on Gab. And here they come with a fucking tank and take me to fucking prison for 2 years. But if I had bought that fucking land, it would have never happened. I wouldn't have even been online. I would have been completely consumed. I wouldn't have been paying attention to the news or anything. I would have been like, okay, when are we going back to Tennessee? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. All right, I got this Amish builder down there who's going to build a cabin and he'll drop it after we get I would have just been planning and like getting ready to make another trip down there And like I would have just been full bore on building this off-grid cabin. Even though I didn't even own the house I was living in, I was planning on doing that because I wanted a place that I could retreat to. If it came down to where I have nothing left in this world, I can go to there. I can go there. And I was trying to make a move to buy the house that I was living in too. And so like there was this whole plan that I was forming, that I wanted to have a house. I wanted to live in the house that I wanted to stay in the house that I was in, but I wanted to buy it. You don't ever own a home. I say this all the time. But I wanted to be the one whose name was on it. You know, the bank would own it until I pay the bank, and then the government owns it, and I have to pay my rent to the government every year in the form of property tax. But, you know, paying rent to the government is cheaper than paying rent to a landlord. So I wanted to own that house, quote unquote, own it. And I wanted to have the off-grid. I wanted some sort of off-grid camp, bug out, whatever you want to call it, location somewhere. I actually wanted it to be in the Allegheny National Forest, but shit got so overpriced up there that it was impossible to find anything for a decent price. It was 10 years beforehand would have been easy as hell, but all of a sudden it became impossible. It was a pipe dream at that point. But down in Tennessee and Kentucky, there were good deals on land all over the fucking place. And so this one, it was a pretty nice piece of land. It wasn't perfect, but it would have been all right. There was other options down there. Like I said, I didn't really want to live in Kentucky. I didn't want to buy land in Kentucky, but the deals were better. Bigger plots, like 40-acre plots. Instead of 9 acres, I could have bought 40 acres for the same price as 9 acres in Tennessee. But the only problem is you're in Kentucky. And so, I don't know, man. That's, you know, they're famous for their fried chicken, but they're also famous for the meth and all kinds of other crazy shit. And the people that live in Kentucky do not like people who aren't from Kentucky coming down to move in next door on some 40-acre plot that they bought. And didn't, you know, I can fit in down in a place like that and get along with the locals because I'm half hillbilly, half hipster. But the half hipster is the dead giveaway. As soon as I'm not, like, you know, if they see what beer I'm holding in my hand, game over. Because I'm not, you know, walking around with a fucking Coors Light or some Budweiser or Miller Lite bullshit. I'm drinking good beer. And I don't have that redneck hillbilly Eastern Kentucky accent where, you know, I don't sound like Boomhauer on King of the Hill when I talk. So, they wouldn't have even been able to understand anything I'm saying and vice versa, because that's how they all talk down there. And so I don't speak that language, and they don't speak mine, and it's a dead giveaway. Whenever, I mean, I've had good I've hung out down there. I've been down there many times. I've never had a problem with the locals. But they're all like, you ain't gonna be from these parts now. Ding do, huh? And I'm like, no, I'm not from here. No, I'm a Yankee from up north. Yeah. So, but anyway, I wanted to be in Tennessee more than Kentucky. And, who knows what would have happened to ruin that. But would have been nice. Would have been a lot better than going to federal prison for 2 fucking years, losing everything I ever fucking had and everything I ever worked for in my life over some fucking tweets. I don't even know where did that come. How did I even go down? This is what happens when I don't have a plan for what I want to talk about. Something stinks in the tiny house. Oh yeah, I was talking about what I would do if I built a cabin. Like if I built a cabin like this, a tiny cabin down on a place like that, it would be better than this. It would be way better than this. Um, Even if it was an empty shell to start out with, it would be way better than this. Um, Bathroom wise, you start out with an outhouse, a composting toilet, sawdust. Um, it's it's better than digging a hole and just shitting in a hole. You take a dump, you throw sawdust over it, you cover it up. You take another dump, you throw sawdust over it, you cover it up, and then when your pile starts to get too big, maybe put a fucking wheelbarrow or just some sort of system so that you can just drag it out, dump it somewhere, and turn it into like a compost pile, but not a compost pile that you're going to use to grow food. You don't use human shit to as fertilizer for food that you're growing for yourself, but you can use it to like fertilize a tree, trees. If you got a tree that you like and you want to, help it out or something like that, like there's things you can do. But because it's with the sawdust, it doesn't smell bad. You don't smell it. It's a pretty natural, it's better than an outhouse where you dig a deep hole and you fill it up with and it smells like awful shit. And then all of a sudden you have to dig another hole because you filled up the shit hole all the way up to the top. And then what do you do when you got a hole full of just nasty shit? Like that's not even sanitary. When you do the sawdust thing, you're basically just and you take it out to some compost pile to decompose. It's just going to turn back into nature. And it's not gonna fucking ruin your water table. Um, but yeah, getting a septic system in a place like that installed would probably be one of the most expensive parts, and getting a well dug, if you could even dig a well in a place like that, because this is a mountainous terrain, very rocky. It might be a nightmare trying to dig a well, or it might be easy as fuck. I don't know. You don't really know until you try. Um, so digging a well, getting a septic system put in so you could have like a proper thing, um, and probably having an electric run. What I would have done in the first place was basically have an electric connection to like a board with an awning over it. And so it'd be like a board with a meter and a bunch of fucking outlets. And so like a bunch of outdoor outlets. And then when you're down there camping, you can just run out in, all weather extension cords to wherever you got to go and just get some long ones. And so you could basically have a connection to a cabin to a board like that, and then you just disconnect it when you leave. But that board will give you like versatility. You can park an RV there and just plug your RV into the board. And then when you want to run an actual, like, you want to like wire up your cabin with proper lighting and outlets and all the fixins, then you have you have an electrician come and help you put in a fucking breaker panel and run wiring through the place, and do it get somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing for something like that. Watching a YouTube video might teach you a couple things, but you definitely want someone who knows what the fuck they're doing when it comes to electricity and plumbing and different things like that. But when you get that stuff squared away, once you have plumbing and electricity figured out, then I can take over from there and frame, put the walls in and cut out for windows and whatnot. But put in a wood burning stove, whatever it is that you're going to do. That kind of stuff you can watch a YouTube video and figure out. And, but none of that shit's hard. I mean, none of that, it's just time consuming, and it can be expensive, and it's expensive. So you would do it just a little bit at a time. It would literally start out as a cabin with a roof and outer walls. And we just go down there and camp, and it's basically like a tent, like a wooden tent. And then, okay, what's the next thing we want to do? Oh, we want some who knows, if it could be 5 years before you have electricity run to the place, in a place like that. Like, maybe it is just a cabin and you don't have electricity, and you literally just camp there, but you have like a building to camp in, and you don't, you can still make something like that nice. But if you want it to have electricity, and you want it to be wired, and you want it to be better to do that before you start framing up walls and putting insulation in, and all that kind of stuff, because all you're going to want to do after the fact is rip it all out when you decide to put plumbing in and electrical. So it's kind of like, but I think it would be the kind of thing that I would have put a shell of a cabin in, and actually gone down there and camped and spent time in it, and actually like kind of planned it out as you're doing it. So that's what I did with my camping truck, my camper pickup truck. I basically came up with the idea of how I was going to do it quickly. I got an ARE camper shell and a set of decked drawers. It's a system called Decked, and they make this for just about any pickup truck out there. But it's a raised platform in the bed of your truck with 2 sliding drawers underneath. And in my case, it was a 6-foot bed, so it was 2 6-foot long drawers that were pretty deep with a flat bed on top of it. And then I put a big thick mattress on, because there's 2 configurations for your pickup truck campers. One is having a flat platform that covers the entire truck bed, and then you have drawers underneath that and storage underneath that, whether you build it yourself or you go prefab. I went prefab for speed. It was like $1,300 for that setup for the decked system, and I paid another, I think I paid I don't remember what I paid for the camper shell, because I bought it used. But I want to say it was like maybe $2,000 to $2,500 total for the deck system and the camper shell combined. But that's what I started with when I started camping out of that truck. The other setup that people do is they'll have one side of the camper truck be basically a big long couch, and the opposite side of the camper shell pickup truck being like a row of utilities, like maybe a little tiny sink, a little place to cook, a TV, or they try to make it like a living room, and you're going to use the entire height from the pickup truck bed all the way up to the top of the camper shell. And so you've basically got a couch on the one side that folds down to a bed when you go to sleep at night. And then the opposite side of the truck is your, whatever it is that you're going to have set up as like your camper. I've seen all kinds of shit. People they make little tiny sinks. They make, typically a sink. People have microwaves. People have a little cook area. I don't think that's you got to have like something that's going to be safe. But people will put solar panels on top of the camper shell on a roof rack or something like that. And then they'll have batteries tucked away somewhere, probably under the couch thing that they're sitting on. And then that will power like an electric cooktop. The sink might have a pump, so it's like a legit mini sink. and, cooking, sink. They'll have like a TV mounted there, and they'll try to make it like a tiny little camper living room kind of a setup that you fold down a bed when you go to sleep at night. And for me, it just didn't make sense, because what I was trying to do was have a place to sleep while I go on camping trips, for road trips, where I'm shooting photography and I'm on the move. And so my biggest thing was, I'm driving around the country all day, and I'm going to this place, I'm going to that place. I'm basically working my way through an area, and I'm going to be out shooting the sunset somewhere. I'm going to be out taking photos from the sunrise to the sunset. After the sun goes down, now I'm going to be like, okay, where do I want to sleep tonight? And I might just find a random place in the woods to go camp. National forest, free BLM, just free camping land. And I just want to be able to pull in somewhere, park, get out of the truck, maybe make dinner or something like that. Very simple, minimalistic kind of a thing. Get a fire going, chill, pull out a camp chair, maybe relax for a little bit, an hour or two, and then I just want to climb up into bed and go to sleep. And so I made the base system, but every time I went on a trip, I would discover, well, this works really well, but this doesn't, and this works well, but that doesn't, and that works well, but this doesn't. And I would just, every time I run into a problem, I would come up with a solution for the next trip, and then take it out and test it and figure it out. There was things with, if you're in a bad rainstorm, those camper shells can leak. Water can find its way in. It might not be ridiculous, but when you have the windows closed, I had these windows that flipped up, and they had screens, so the bugs weren't coming in. But the bugs were coming in. So I used bug netting. So there were different things you could do, basically. Like, what I would do at night, if I needed to leave the windows open, I would drape bug netting, like military bug netting, over the back of the truck. And then I would leave the back window flipped up, and I would leave the side windows flipped up so the airflow was good. And but there wouldn't be any bugs, because I had this giant bug net over the whole thing. And then the bug net rolls up and goes in a drawer. And the next morning, it's super easy to just pull it down, roll it up, throw it in the drawer, and be on your way. Certain other situations, it might rain. Now, if it's cold weather and the windows are going to be shut, and you're basically conserving heat, there might be a drip that comes in here and there, and I would try and find those, and try to seal them the best I could with silicone and stuff like that as I would, figure them out. I would try to do different things there. But when you are in cold weather and you're sleeping at night, and you've got the window shut and the back window shut because it's cold, condensation becomes an issue. All of a sudden, there's condensation. The ceiling is wet, the walls are wet, the insides of the window are wet. Everything inside the place it's wet. Because your body, your sweat, your body heat and breathing and all that is creating moisture inside of the thing, and and because everything is cold around you, the condensation's just everywhere. And so that becomes an issue. You literally there were days I would wake up in a cold weather camp, and I'd have to take a towel and wipe everything down. And so now I'm like, okay, now what do I do in this situation? Using a catalytic heater, the Mr. Buddy heater. I had different Mr. Buddy heaters, but at the smallest one they make was pretty good for keeping that thing warm at night if it was really cold out. But it's a little risky having a a propane heater running in the back of a pickup truck when you got a giant thing of gasoline below you. So, but those things are pretty safe. If you tip them over, they shut right off. But, you just got to find a good place to put it where you're not going to knock it over. But then, the condensation becomes an issue with those too. Um, and then there were when it rains really hard, but let's say it's warm out and it's muggy out, like Texas weather or Florida weather, and you're camping down in that kind of stuff, and it's going to be raining real hard, but you got to keep the windows open because you need the airflow to go through because it's hot as fuck. And if you have everything closed up because it's raining, it's going to be like 110 degrees before you know it, and it's going to be uncomfortable and humid and nasty. So I created a system I found a tarp and some poles, some collapsible poles that I was able to drape over, like spread, open up the windows on the sides and back, and then lay a tarp across the back. But then I had these poles that I could use and some guy wires that I could create basically an awning, and then just stake down the corners of the tarp with 4 easy, paracord based guide wires with with some tent stakes, and just bang, 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 4 different guy wires to hold it out like an awning. But then in the morning when you get up to leave, as long as you've got dirt around you and you're not like in a parking lot somewhere, but if you're even in that kind of situation, if you had something heavy, you could still, if you could find 4 rocks or something, or 4 things to tie the paracord to, you could still make it work. But or you could even, I probably could have figured out a way to tie from the corner of the stakes, the poles, the collapsible poles, to anchor them something, to pull the guy wires back to anchor them against something on the truck, and maybe wedge the collapsible poles in between the tire and the what's under, like wedge them in where the tires are, 4 different spots. And then you can do a lot of creative stuff if you use paracord and tarps. But this was like a really nice tarp that was like a hammocking, backpacking kind of tarp, but it was a big one, big enough to hang over the sides of the truck, but also create an awning. And I could set it up so that it would have an awning out the back of the truck, so that when you're standing behind the truck with the tailgate down and the back window flipped up, you would have like more space to stay out of the rain, to the point where you could set up a couple of camp chairs there and not get rained on, and have it be like a easy up canopy, of which I also carried a 4-foot by 6-foot easy up canopy, tucked back in the back, stored away. So that, and that could be hooked. That could either be independently used at a campsite, or a picnic table next, if you're at a campsite and you just want to get out of the rain, 4-foot by 6-foot easy up canopy will do a pretty good job. And with some extra tarps, you can extend that. As long as you've got the easy up canopy with the metal frame, you can anchor tarps to all 4 sides of that and stretch those out and get more space than the 4-foot by 6-foot canopy gives you. You can extend that out, just get tarps that are, 6 feet wide and 4 feet wide, or, not too far beyond that. And then you can use, what I would use to make it fast was carabiners. I would take carabiners and hook the tarps to the framework of the 4-foot by 6-foot canopy. That way I could just be like clip, clip, and then pull the tarps out. And what I would typically do in that situation is look for sticks, or look for anything like a tree branch or something like that. Get 2 long tree branches, hook the tree branches into the opposite corners of the tarp that you're using to extend out your rain canopy, and then use paracord and some tent stakes to put guy wires on those tree branches, or sticks big. If you can find a 3 to 5, you get a 5 foot long branch that's not too big around, and you could just take a knife and put a point on the end, and using paracord, you put it up through the hole of a tarp, the grommet, and then use paracord to create a couple of guy wires to hold that tarp out. You can turn a 4 foot by 6 foot easy up canopy that you can buy at Walmart. I think they're like 30-40 bucks at Walmart, and you can easily turn that into like a you could turn it into like a 4 foot by 10 foot long canopy or longer, and you could do it out on all four sides, and you can just keep adding to it. And that 4 foot by 6 foot metal frame just gives you like a starting point to anchor everything to. But you can store all of that shit in a really compact space in the back of a truck like that, and then pull it out when you need it. And depending on how long you're going to stay at a campsite, or how much space that you need to get out of the elements, there's lots of different ways you can configure this stuff to work for you. And you can use the pickup truck itself and drape tarps over, and just you could basically make like a big long tarp tunnel that goes out the back of the pickup truck and out into wherever. And so you could give yourself tons and tons of dry space to stay out of the rain, set up your tents and whatnot. I mean, you can pretty much, as long as you got paracord and tarps, everything else you can, maybe when you're out in the desert, you aren't going to find sticks and shit like that to work with. But if you're out in the woods, any place in the, if you're out in the woods, all you need are the paracord. You don't even need tent stakes. All you need is the paracord and the tarps. You can find branches laying around to use as poles to set everything up with. And then you can sharpen, just take a knife and turn smaller sticks into tent stakes and pound, paracord and tarps. You could do all kinds of crazy shit. And that's, that's all I'm going to talk about with that. But something stinks in my tiny little cabin here. I don't know what it is. I'm not really... It's like just a twinge right now, but if I go to the back corner where the garbage can is, I'm going to smell it, but it's not the garbage cans. So I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. I've got some Febreze. I've only got to be in this motherfucker for... It's Monday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 4 more days, and then I'm out. 4 more sleeps. 5 more sleeps, 4 more days. Tomorrow, so before I go to bed tonight, I got to make sure that my clothes and everything's laid out for tomorrow's bike ride. But all I have to do is charge a couple of batteries. I'm taking a different bike tomorrow just in case it rains. I'm taking the Red Rocket, but I pray and I hope that God keeps holding back the rain for me. Hopefully he does that tomorrow. I can't, nothing's a guarantee, but I've rode 2,000 miles on my bike and I've hardly gotten wet so far this year. I'm prepared for it if it does rain, but if it doesn't rain, that's awesome. I would much rather it not rain on my way in tomorrow, but if it does, I'm going to take the bike that's more suitable for the rain. So I just got to get a couple things charged up, a couple batteries charged, and just got to swap out the dirty clothes from the backpack with the clean clothes I got sitting here for tomorrow, and just go through a quick checklist. It takes 15 minutes in the morning to get ready, even if I don't do it tonight. But it feels a hell of a lot better when I wake up at 5 in the morning knowing that between now and 6:30 I don't got to do a thing except put air in the tires of my bike, and put on some shoes and get dressed. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I don't even know. I got to eat something. I don't know what I'm going to eat. And then I've got, after tomorrow's going to be a rough day, riding my bike to the bakery twice, 2 days in a row. That's going to take a toll. I'm already feeling it. Tomorrow, who knows? And then I got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to, pack everything and get ready. And then Saturday, my goal is to go get that U-Haul van, come back, and just get that thing loaded and out of here as fast as I possibly can. But I'm assuming it's going to take, if I have to do it all by myself, it's going to take 2-3 hours, possibly, because of the distance that I have to walk. Everything has to be, it's a long walk. The driveway's like right out there, but I have to walk around the entire perimeter of the house to get to it. So it's a shitty walk. It was a shitty place to move into. It was a pain in the ass. But the new place, when I pull up to the new place, I can literally put the door, the back door, or the sliding door of the van 3 feet from the door of the new apartment. So everything's going to be right. Getting the van unloaded is going to take like 10 to 15 minutes. But getting it packed might take a couple of hours. And maybe some more. Not because of the amount of stuff that I have, but because of the distance I have to carry it. And so I'm just hoping that everything goes smooth. And so far it's been, it just seems like it will. But, I'll be glad when it's over. I'll be glad when it's over, for sure. I'm really tired of, I can't wait to be out of this place. I can't wait to, I'm just so, this place just feels so different now. Ever since this landlord went off the rails. He's such a fucking douchebag. And I can't wait to get out of here and get away from him. Yeah, I'm smelling that weird smell, but it's not overpowering, but I can't figure out what the hell it is. So if I ever do, I'll let you know. Peace out.